So we are on the road today at Wimbledon's Racket Club in London, a very prestigious club with steeped in history.
And we have a very special guest with us today, one of England's finest singles players, an ex-UK #1. Let's take a look who it is. Here he is, Toby Penty. I'm super excited to have you as part of this video, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We're really excited to learn from you. Obviously, you've been a full-time coach now for about 14 months.
Yeah.
How's it been?
It's been good, it's been busy. It's been pretty hectic. I've kind of jumped into it straight away. Didn't really have that much time off after I finished. But basically, I've just been spending the last 14 months with a lot of the junior players here at Wimbledon. Working a little bit with the senior players in Milton Keynes, and then a few other little projects alongside that.
Awesome.
Small podcasts and stuff, so yeah.
Yes, your podcast as well, and you've got Vid News on.
Yes, we've got Ving who's coming on very shortly, so yeah, we're excited about that first guest.
Brilliant. And how's it been like going back into that environment, coaching maybe some of the senior lot as well, now you've sort of stopped?
Yeah, it's a little bit different when you've gone from like training alongside people to like then coaching. I feel like I had some examples of other players, you know, Raj Usef, who was just before me, who stopped, Chris Langridge, who have done similar. So kind of getting the vibe from them and trying to learn a little bit, but you know, not trying to make it feel awkward or feel like I'm still a player, just trying to find that balance between still being the same person, but bringing something a little bit different to the table.
Well, I know for me and Dean, we've got a couple of players who work with you currently and are absolutely loving your coaching, so doing a fantastic job.
Good. So a singles masterclass with Toby Penty. Toby, what are you going to be taking us through today?
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about playing styles and sort of tactical decisions, and also a little bit, I guess, about how my game and how your game can develop and change over time, depending on playing style as well.
And obviously, I'm sure everyone's realised anyway that you're quite a tall chap, and is it fair to say that you use your natural assets that you had to then build a game around that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I got to about 15, 16, I went through a bit of a growing spurt. Like now, 6'2", left-handed. I've had a couple of players say I'm not actually good; it's just God-given. But yeah, so you start to kind of develop my style around those two things, because you know a lot is talked about being a left-hander and stuff, and different angles you can create. So a lot of that with my slices and stuff like that, and different variations, I think, trying to do something a little bit different.
It all sounds great. Let's get into it. Okay, so Toby, we're standing in your forehand rear court. Why is it we're starting here?
Yeah, so this naturally as a lefty anyway, like this is the corner with the forehand slice where I think you would say for most lefties, they feel most comfortable playing out of their forehand corner. For me, it was the variation I could create from this corner in terms of holding the shuttle, use of my clears and stuff, but then I could use that with my slice, both from higher positions and then actually from later positions as well.
And even though your slice is obviously a big asset of your game, you've already mentioned variety is still very key to open up the space to play the slices, because if you're overplaying the slices, I guess then the space becomes smaller. Yeah,
the space becomes smaller, and I found like as I got older and my swing became a bit shorter and stuff, then it was easier for me to hold it and play different shots. And that was when we're talking about variation, that was the key, is that it was hard for them to see it and know when it was coming. And then using it in different ways, where I was using it to attack just to make the court bigger, or also just to take their legs away. Like naturally against most righties, it was coming down to their deep backhand side. So if I'm playing for like 45 minutes, an hour, and I'm constantly making them go down there, I feel like I'm taking their legs away a little bit as well. So it wasn't just in terms of trying to win with it, but trying to kind of create situations where they became more tired as well.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about the slice, how it's not just seen as an attacking aggressive shot, it's trying to win a point, but you play it as a build-in shot as well. How do you decide which slice you're going to go for in a way of where I'm going to be aggressive or if I need to maintain the rally?
I think it depended a little bit on how much I opened up the court, and also the angle and my footwork in terms of where I was coming from in the court. So if I was coming more from the middle and I had an angle coming out to it, then it was easier to come across it. Also, I think the one that I found for me most effective as well was actually when I was taking it later and I was slicing it from down low and just changing the angle, both to get me out of trouble and actually to go from a defensive position into an attacking one within one shot.
And it's interesting to hear you still talk about that even though you're late, you would still play the cross angle, because we think a lot of non-professionals think, well, that gives me the longest distance to cover, but actually what you create is a steeper angle to actually give you more time to come in rather than just playing the predictable straight shot all the time.
Yeah, I mean, as well, because I had a few, you had the variations between the sort of softer straight shot, hard one down the line, or even where I held them and went over the top. And naturally, I didn't mind doing that because I quite like defending on my forehand. So then to create that space again to play into there, to either get in to be early on my backhand net, or to maybe take a jump out around the head, it would just create different variations for me.
Right. So Toby, we've obviously talked about your slice. Now obviously your smash is also quite a big weapon as well, not just on pace, but obviously using your height to create angle. When is it you would decide to take on the smash versus to go for the steeper slice?
I think the big thing that probably varied for me between using the smash and slice was, as I came up against better players, like I actually found when I used my slice shots more, one, because they had deeper bases and were looking for the smash. So that was one of the main things. When I was playing a lot of the Asian players and stuff like that, they'd sit back a lot in defense. And you'd kind of, sometimes I'd need someone to prompt me from the back and be like, they're really deep, like you need to play down in front of them a bit more. And then that would create more danger with the smash. But also, sometimes I found with the slice was that I could back up my shots easier. Like I found I could land, and with the smash, sometimes you can be a little bit more off balance when you land and coming forwards. Whereas with the slice, I found I was a bit more on balance. And then I could use it to attack or to back it up at the front court with another attacking shot or another shot to put them under pressure.
So Toby, slicers, what sort of drills would you be doing to kind of improve your slicers, keep them where they need to be?
Yeah, I think just in terms of keeping it basic and stuff like that was just a very simple one where I'd start a little bit more on base around here. And I'd just start with my feet already kind of looking for that corner like I would be in a game. Coming up to the shot, trying to take it fairly early, playing down. And then also from there, then I'd be looking to back it up in the backhand corner for me over there. And then just also practicing in terms of, do I slice and turn my feet and look in front like this, or am I chassing through a bit more sort of neutral and then turning to the shuttle? And then from there, trying to practice my variations on my backhand front court, because that ultimately is where a lot of the shuttles would go.
And what would be the reason you switch your feet or don't switch your feet?
I think in terms of switching my feet, I would normally, if I came up for a slice there and I saw that I'd got into a good position off it, that's where I'd then look. As I'm kind of moving and watching the whole time, that's when I could take that step. Because as I pushed off onto my non-racket leg and split, that's when I could change pace onto the shot as well and take it earlier. Whereas if I felt like they were in a better position, or equally if I felt like when I sliced they might play to a different corner, that's when I might move in a little bit more neutral. So I could either go to my round the head or to my forehand.
Awesome, let's practice it. So Toby, when we think about your long career, two standout moments really come to mind, and that's getting through your box at the Olympics, beating the 16th seed at the time, and then obviously playing Lo Can Yu, who's current world champion, losing 25-23 in the third. Yeah. Do you still think about those moments?
Yeah, I still have a few nightmares about the end of the Lo Can Yu match, because I feel like that was the one I probably should have got. But yeah, I mean, the Olympics is always quite a special one. It was obviously quite strange with the sort of COVID build up to it. And I mean, now I reflect on it, it's pretty mental because, you know, I think I played one tournament in 10 months before that. I played the All England. I'd been injured quite a lot and I wasn't even fit for that. So there were only really a small amount of people who knew the sort of shape and form I was in going into that. I'd worked so hard and I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I think to everyone else, it was quite a big surprise that I got through the group, but I was, well, quietly confident externally, but internally I was quite confident that I could get through the box.
I mean, I remember watching and it was an amazing moment, and obviously such a fantastic achievement just getting through the box at the Olympics. When you're playing all the best people in the world. It's really such a great achievement.
Yeah, I just think as well is, you know, that like the Olympics is the pinnacle and everyone is looking to play their best at it. And you know, fortunately it's really nice for me that I'm able to look back at that and also the Commonwealth Games with Lo and say in those biggest moments where you want to perform, I managed to do that. So that's really nice to be able to look back on.
Amazing. So Toby, I mean, for me, as an ex-singles player as well, you were someone I looked up to a lot, played a couple of times, and when I think about your game style, control comes to mind, of just being able to like put the shuttle where you wanted it, control your opponent so they're doing exactly what you want to do. How did you go about developing that as a player?
Well, I think the big thing over time was like, I think we can all agree when we're juniors or when we're younger, a lot of when we talk about singles is about making the court as big as possible. But I think over time, as I got older and stuff, it was how do I make their court big but make mine smaller? And actually sometimes it was by doing the reverse and actually making their court smaller as well, so it felt like they couldn't do as much back to me. So some simple things were like, defensively, I started to try and push the shuttle a lot longer in defense and not play too soft, where they could come in and play with a lot of pace. Find in general, like, the difference between sort of high level, maybe even club level, is that ability to think in singles, you want to play a lot of soft, floaty shots. And the way the game is now and the speed it's played at is you don't want to give that advantage where you can just get bullied around the court.
And I think you can almost tell that when you start looking at professional matches where they almost look like they're moving slowly in a way and actually just knocking the shuttle about because they know their opponent's quick. They've got these shots. So like you said, they're making that court smaller so they can't play the shots they want to.
Yeah, and also when you're watching those games as well, they're so aware that if they play anything slightly loose or anything, the quality that's coming back is too high. So sometimes it feels like they're just trying not to give away too many chances. And you know, for me, actually within games, when I was playing matches, you'd kind of start as you would always with your own style. Yeah. But then a lot of the times I'd have the coach come on, or we'd have a reflection in breaks and be like, okay, now we need to use the middle more. Yeah. So sometimes, I know in this day and age it's about using the middle a lot, but actually start by playing your game and then seeing, right, what sort of neutralising things do you need to do? Do you need to make the front line wider? Do you need to make it narrower? And I think almost being able to adjust a little bit more from match to match is what I found working with juniors as well.
And what sort of scenarios would you be in where you might want to use the middle more, or maybe you use width more? Who would you be playing? What would they be doing?
I think the simplest kind of suggestion on this in terms of players you might be playing against, players who are very quick moving in straight lines. Yeah. So, you know, when you see someone moving really fast against you and going, God, how are they getting to the shuttle so quickly? It's like, well, are you just playing in straight lines? Are you playing a straight smash and just blocking it straight? Are you becoming too easy to anticipate what you're going to do? And then deciding, is it someone who's so quick that if you actually turn it, you get in as much trouble? Or are they so quick that I just need to use the middle and cut the angle down? And we talk about almost making the court a bit of a triangle.
Yeah. Oh, so you'd almost have like a plan A, B, and C,
yeah,
depending on who you're going with. But I think the big point is that you always start with what you're good at. You start with your plan A, yeah, and vary it as you go. You're not too worrying about what they're doing to begin with. It's sort of you adapt as you go.
Yeah, and I think the only thing might be with that, if I was watching video on an opponent, I might go, right, where is the safer corner, or where is the really strong corner, and go, right, I'm not going to touch there unless something changes in the game. Either they're reading that situation, and I think that was the big one. If it felt like they were adjusting, I had to make an adjustment as well.
Yeah. So Toby, we're now moved on to the control drill. What type of things we'll be looking at here?
Yeah, so again, something where we kind of start in the front to mid-court area, kind of working on our sort of blocking situations that we've talked about today, in terms of going a little bit longer with the blocks and stuff like that. To keep it, the kind of simplest variation then would be practicing a lot more on the blocking along the front line. You can do this in a 1v1 or a 2v1. I'd say if it's against a 2, maybe then we're thinking more about the movement and speed element, whereas against the 1 it can be as controlled as you really want it to be. And to start with then, probably only putting like the odd shot that comes in behind and practicing in these sort of neutralising areas. And then again, working back on this front to mid-court area and your quality of blocks as well, trying to not make them too loopy or too soft.
And I guess the advantage of the 1v1 routines, we can start to have a tactical element behind the routine as well, maybe pull the opponent out of position a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends like how basic or how structured you want it to be in terms of both the width of the court, or if you're kind of practicing to set up where it's something where we start in that neutralising situation and then there's a shot that probes it going more attacking or something like that. So the way we're talking about it is kind of the setup of how it can start, and then kind of there's a lot of different ways it can evolve, both from a tactical element in terms of it being more attacking or more defensive.
So Toby, when you chose to retire, I think for most people looking at your career, you're almost playing the best you've ever played at the peak of your career. Why is it you chose to stop when you did?
I think there are a few factors that went into it. Yeah, like I had been playing for a long time. I started playing full time when I was 19, and a few bits, injuries were starting to catch up with me a little bit. I was just struggling for consistency, being able to play tournaments and stuff like that. And you know, I'd be going to tournaments and I'd have one really good day, but then I'd get out of bed and I couldn't perform or move the way I wanted to the next day, which it's just kind of frustrating because I knew there was more there and I just couldn't deliver it. Like well documented, I'd been through a few issues with my alopecia and a few other things, and also financially it was difficult. So there are a few factors that went into it, but you know, I made the decision about 10 months before the Commonwealth Games that I was going to stop, and actually it gave me something to think about how I wanted to finish and how I wanted to finish on my terms, but also be playing at a level that maybe I'd never played at before, and I think I managed to do that. So I feel like one of the lucky ones as an athlete who managed to be able to do that.
And having made that decision then very early, 10 months before, did that almost relieve a bit of pressure and kind of maybe release expectations that you could relax a little bit more as you went onto court?
A little bit. I feel more so, I was actually more relaxed because I hadn't told too many people. I didn't want to make a massive thing out of it. Like I kind of picked like every month a different person to tell, to like let it out a little bit so that it didn't feel like a dirty secret almost. And I think that helped. Like in the low match, I remember I was in my hotel room with Callum Hemming, one of the doubles players, the night before, and I just said, "Listen, mate, this is my last team match tomorrow. Like when you're sat there, just like give me all the support because I'm going big." And like, yeah, an hour and 20 minutes later, and almost won that match. Yeah, it kind of showed. And actually, I think they even referenced his support in the match. So yeah, that 10-month spell and kind of building up to it actually helped me and didn't hinder me, which was really good.
Well, an incredible career, and I'm sure you'll always be extremely proud of what you've achieved. Okay, so Toby, our last area is we've obviously moved forward now to the net, and I can guess why this is a big area for you, being a tall chap, that you're trying to get big high lifts to get behind the shuttle. Is that generally your focus when you were playing? Yeah, again, I think it kind of developed and changed over time. I think when I was a little bit younger, it was very much about sort of what you were talking about, getting the tight spins and stuff like that, getting behind the shuttle, getting the good attacking opportunities. But I think in terms of where the game's changed, it's like you started coming up against seriously good defenses more and more. So it's about, it started to become, how could I get shorter lifts? How could I get them to play into areas I wanted to? So it actually became more about the lifting game and using little deceptions and stuff like that to try and force them to be off balance or to lift short to me. To get better attacking opportunities, and also to get chances to also follow up and finish rallies as well. It's interesting how you talk about the net already, that we're not necessarily talking about hitting net shots from here, because of you talk about how good players are in the world about playing net from here, and that's why push is coming more towards the service line. So your net shots are being played probably more around service line? Yeah, well, again, I think that's happened, you know, the more the game has progressed, the more that's been happening. I think where I was quite good in that naturally I had very good feel as a kid, like strength. I wasn't the strongest, so I had to learn a different way, and I'd just be sat literally, well, standing where you are now, right, and just practicing net shots for hours when I was like 14, 15. I loved it. Yeah. Like, how many net cords could I get? Be here at like 8 AM just practicing. So I think what was good is as much as you know, as I got older, I wanted to use my lifting game more and stuff like that, and these deceptions. I had the bravery to still play net and try and take those opportunities because I felt like I had the feel and the touch to do it. And is that very much linked to your attack as well, with your height? Is that a key? Without this area being so strong than net, would that have affected your attack? Yeah, I think so, because then they could, you know, then they wouldn't need to lift me as much, because I could kind of, you know, in the start of matches, I'd try and keep my base a lot higher. You know, if you look at a lot of the Danish players and
some of the influences I've had with Danish coaches who I've worked with is about trying to literally have a base position where I'm kind of pressed up here, almost near the tee like a doubles player, right? And when they felt like they weren't getting any advantages here, that's when I could start to drop back and hunt for the backcourt shots.
So it's almost a case of forcing people to having to play to your strengths, because they're never going to play to them otherwise.
Exactly, and then part of that was, again, once that changed and they felt like they couldn't get anything here, then I could step back up the court and pressure the front. So I could always just adjust to which one I wanted to use more.
Right. So controlling the net, what sort of drills would you be going through to practice this as a skill, as there's so many elements to the net?
Yeah, well, with this one, I'm gonna kind of explain it a little bit more open. So I would do a lot of it where it would be 2 feeders, so one more at the front court and one at the back, and really just practicing from the front and mid-court area. It would feel slightly more defensive to start, but the back player would play a lot of neutralizing shots, slices, smashes, and just learning to control my quality of defense, but then also my follow-up shots, my lifts, my nets, like relifting and stuff like this. So getting different feels. And a lot of this, as I got older, was also about consistently being able to try and find my length, whether it was with slower shuttles or faster shuttles as well. That was a big element. From a feeding point of view, it's really important though that the front feeder didn't stand too close to the net, because otherwise it would kind of break down the rhythm of the routine. So they needed to kind of be moving in and out, so we were almost challenging each other a little bit.
Amazing, let's give it a go. So Toby, thank you so much for that masterclass. It was brilliant, learned so much. Would you give any advice to people who are playing singles and they want to improve?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and I'm going to be a little bit more generic in this, is just make sure you're enjoying it. Like, make sure you're enjoying playing all the time. And I think with what I've talked about today in terms of practice and stuff like that, is enjoying practicing new skills, and don't be afraid to look silly doing them or be embarrassed. Like, we all started not being very good at the sport.
Yep.
No matter what age we started playing, and even when I was playing at the top level, every now and then you'd be sent the wrong way and you've still got to go and pick up the shuttle. So that's a big one. And then in terms of just practicing the fundamentals and thinking about how do you want to play when you're on court, how do you want to feel, and what do you want your game style to be like, I would say.
Thank you.
So wow, what an incredible time we've had here at Wimbledon's Racket Clubs with Toby Penty. I know that we've certainly learned a lot.
Amazing.
I'm sure you have too.
And if you like this video and you want to see more, please hit the like and subscribe button and head over to Instagram and give us a follow.
Hi guys, I'm Toby Penty, and on the 29th of January, Wimbledon Rackets and Fitness Club will be playing their home match of the National Badminton League, and we'd love for you to come along and watch. We've got players playing, international players who have been members of the club for up to 15 years, and we'd love for you to come and show your support, as we'll be up against Team Skyfall, who currently have a lot of top up-and-coming England internationals. We have a great bar, great drink, and yeah, please come and make as much noise as possible on Monday the 29th. Thank you.